Hey, this is Tony Soprano, and you're listening to Jersey Boyz Podcast with your hosts, Dave Sturchio and the Ernst Boys. I mean, I could give a shit about the Cowboys. We're in New Jersey. These guys got balls being Cowboys fans in Jersey. Anyways, enjoy. Well, whatever.
How about this, Cowboys?
What's going on, Cowboys Nation? Welcome to another episode of the Jersey Boyz Podcast right here on Chop Sports Media's YouTube channel and, of course, on the My Fandom podcast network. That's right. It's another one of my 19 businesses that I'm trying to get up and running over here. But it is Dave Sturchio. It is nationally known comedian Bret Ernst. Bret, how we doing, bro? Looks like you had a nice little field access at the Raiders place.
Yeah, I had it was pretty cool, man. We got the suite from the South Point Casino. Shout out to South Point Casino. And my buddy Gabe Lopez that runs a comedy show there. So we got like the whole VIP treatment, man. It was great.
So you were on the field.
The food at the stadium was unbelievable.
I mean, look, they're brand new, so they better have everything on point. So and let me tell you something. The stadium looks incredible. Yeah, we all know this. You know this. It's right outside your window, basically, over there in Vegas. But was there any interaction that you saw down there on the field where you were just like, this dude's bigger in person, or like, because being on the field is way different than watching the game from where we watch it, or even on TV, rather. So is there anything kind of like caught you off guard?
I was we were limited to where we were, so I just saw Jerry talking with what's his name, Mark Davis. The players, you know, man, I've been around those guys my whole life, but I watched the game from the suite. I wasn't on the field for the game. We were only allowed in a certain spot, but it was cool.
How tall is Deuce Vaughn in person?
I didn't see him in person.
You couldn't see him because he was underneath everybody.
I know, dude. Listen, man. I mean, that's a great way to kick it off. That kid played amazing.
Listen. This is the stuff that we already knew that Deuce Vaughn was capable of doing, but the issue is how many reps are you going to get this kid? And it seems like last year there was a couple times where we thought Deuce Vaughn would be kind of let loose. The deuce is loose. You know what I mean? Like, we're all waiting for it, and it just never really happened. And then they get him in the return game during the regular season last year, and we think that even this year's new return rules, maybe that'll, be advantageous for this kid to try to, break one here and there. But yeah, Deuce Vaughn was one of the guys that I definitely wanted to highlight going in. But I know there's a lot of hot button topics out there as far as guys that are on the radar with preseason coming to a close already, believe it or not. The third and final game is this Saturday against the Chargers. But Trey Lance, we got to start with him, just because Cooper Rush went out there, played 3 downs or threw 3 passes. You really can't evaluate him. And something that Mike McCarthy said, which is it rings me a little bit, like it got me focused and attention. He basically said, like, Cooper Rush has had already plenty of reps. He's had all these things already. We already know what we got out of Cooper Rush. We got to figure out what's going on with Trey Lance. Now, the last time we saw Trey Lance, he stunk up the joint, right? I mean, he just didn't play well in his first game. Now, this game starts off kind of shaky again. I feel like he's leaving some of these receivers out to die. Like, there's a couple passes that were across the middle that were too high, that were just getting smashed and mangled. You watched the game from the press box area. I watched it on TV until 1 a.m. What did you think about Trey Lance's game 2 performance as compared to game 1?
Well, first of all, the 3 passes Cooper Rush threw were terrible. Number one, he obviously didn't get to a rhythm.
Hard to do that, yeah.
Yeah, but still, I was like, there was one he threw it too low. But whatever. Yeah. I mean, he's been proven in his season. He's also been played awful in a couple games too. So, but
true.
I think he's a solid backup. Trey Lance, on the other hand, he started playing better. It seemed like he was getting confidence, and running the offense. The other thing, which I think is good for Cowboy fans, to realize how long the Raiders kept their starters in. And, he was going up against most of their first team. So he played pretty well. Again, we'll see more of him. Are we going to see Dak against the Chargers, you think?
No, actually, what we did here today, it's being reported that Mike McCarthy is going to give him the play sheet, and Dak Prescott's going to call the plays. This happened last year, too. Basically, it gives the quarterback more mental reps than anything else, calling the plays as an offensive coordinator. I think that's what the involvement that Dak's going to have this week. He will not see the field. Again, man, we've been having this conversation for 5 years now when it comes to a guy like Dak Prescott. It's like, what is the difference between Dak and like Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes or any of these guys that have won Super Bowls or like, out there? Like Aaron Rodgers hasn't seen the field yet because obviously he's coming off the Achilles, but he might actually play against the Giants. So it's like, what is the major difference when it comes to Dak Prescott? Like everybody gets paid. Everybody's got this, does he have injury history? Sure. But like, are we so convinced that like he doesn't need a damn live rep? We have this conversation every year.
I don't know. I don't know why, he doesn't at least get a series. I thought maybe they would give him a series, give at least two series.
Something.
And then Cooper come in, give the rest of the game to Trey Lance.
There was a difference in game 1 to game 2. There was no Jalen Tolbert game 1. All of a sudden, game 2, he's out there doing his thing. So you figured like, okay, even guys that are locks to make the team that are going to be second receiver, third receiver, whatever Tolbert's going to wind up being, which again, he's going to have, I think he's going to have himself a nice little year. But like, I just don't understand the logic behind the whole, we don't need any reps from our QB1. And I know a lot of it has to do with, a lot of people are starting to speculate that, you got to get Trey Lance the reps because he might be the future of the team. And I'm missing that. I'm not hearing that stuff.
Right.
When you spoke about the confidence, I agree. After a couple shaky passes, it seemed like he was starting to get into a little bit of a groove. My only combat to that is that in the regular season, bro, we don't have time for him to get into a groove. You know what I mean? Like it's the regular season. You get down 14-0, all of a sudden you're like, this game's over. I
don't see him, obviously he's a third string quarterback as of now. I mean, so let's hope we don't have that problem.
Yeah.
As far as the future goes, who knows? The way he's been playing in camp, and I don't see him as our future, if that's what you mean. But
I don't even
for a third string quarterback, he played great.
Sure, right. We have the best third string quarterback in the NFL. Like that's like, and that's not saying much. I saw the third stringer for the Green Bay Packers the other day, and he looked like a deer in headlights playing against whoever the hell they were playing. But like with him, I just felt like accuracy's been an issue. He's throwing them in there like 95 miles an hour when they don't need it. They need a little touch. Did he drop a dime for a touchdown? Sure. Right. Did he run one in? Sure. But this was later in the game. Now the starters are pulled. We're finally scoring touchdowns and shit in the preseason when we didn't score at all in the first game. So yeah, was the offense kind of humming a little bit better? Yeah. And it was because of Trey Lance. But again, who are you playing against? You're playing against guys that are going to be working at Walmart in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So like, I don't see the big picture with Trey Lance, and this is not Trey Lance hate. I know people came at me on Twitter last week like, you're just hating him. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, it's the eye test for me. Like, am I an X's and O's guy? I haven't been in a huddle in 20 years, right? Like, but like, what I will say is I can see what the eye can see, and this is something your brother saw when he was out in Oxnard, right? He told us, he's like, dude, he is not throwing good balls, and now you're watching it. And you're waiting for him to come on, and it doesn't seem like it was going to happen. So like, I don't get the experiment anymore. I think it's kind of a lost cause at this point. Do I think they should ship him off for like a 4th or 5th? Yeah, why not? But like, I don't know if even that's a warranted thing. I think he's going to be there as their third guy.
We got him for cheap. We'll see how he plays.
Some say it's not cheap when you get a third string quarterback for a 4th round pick. I don't know.
Considering the hype around him and, being a first round pick, right? He went in the first round.
He was, dude, the 49ers moved heaven and earth just to get to him. He's a 3rd overall pick in the draft.
Yeah. So I'm just saying we got him fairly cheap. And if he pans out, that's great. If he doesn't, it's not really, we're not breaking the bank with him. So,
no, but they already kind of denied his 5th-year option as a rookie. When you're a first-round pick, you get that 5th-year option. The Cowboys said no go, right? So like, we already know that ain't going to be a thing. And like I said, are you trying to showcase his talents now to get value back for him, or are you really literally getting him ready to go in case he's called upon? I don't think that's the case. But again,
he could be a project. Like I said, it's a low risk, high reward situation. I think that there's more decisions that have to be made other than Trey Lance, where he fits in.
Again, it's almost like a moot conversation, because it's like, who cares at this point, right? But like, people are talking about it. That's all well and good. He's going to get more reps against the Chargers, and we'll see how he can go against those guys.
And, if he plays, if he balls out, he balls out, and then that's good. But if he doesn't, it's still no harm, no foul. I mean, obviously, we're going to carry him.
You would think, but it's not like he could be a practice squad guy, because he gets scooped up in a heartbeat. Like, that's how that works. You put a guy in a practice squad, they're basically a free agent, if you think about it. You know what I mean? Like, they're literally like, any team can come scoop you up. However, the rule is, if you scoop somebody off the practice squad, that person has to go onto your 53 immediately. He would find a role somewhere. And again, I think that there's going to be, look what happened to the Vikings, right? JJ McCarthy out for the year. Now they got to go with Sam Darnold. Is that who you want to go with all year? Yeah, he's a journeyman. I'm sure he could do well. He reminds me of a Kirk Cousins-esque type quarterback, which is kind of fits the mold there in Minnesota, because that's where Kirk was. But I don't know, man. As far as he goes, I don't know.
Cousins played great, man. I mean, he plays.
I like him.
But I think what made people so not negative towards him is how much he got paid. You know what I mean? For
getting these
for
1-year
deals, a little above average quarterback, but he doesn't suck. Kirk Cousins, he played pretty well with Minnesota, and then go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, he started in Washington, went to Minnesota, and now, he's got Drake London, he's got a Kyle Pitts, he's got Bijan Robinson, he's got a loaded offense down there in Atlanta, or at least a couple good pieces. So we'll see. But when it comes to Lance, it really doesn't matter. It's a conversation for the talking heads to get all stirred up, and people are gonna be like, I told you he was better than Dak and all that shit. It's like, all right, enough. So trust me, they're out there. They are out there. Those delusional lunatics are out there. But I digress with that. But anyway, sticking with the offense, the offensive line,
bro.
Connor Beebe, my man.
Let's talk. Bro. Let's talk about this rookie class. The three, obviously, that stood out was Guyton, Beebe, and Nealon. And that to me is a bright side, man. Especially Guyton, bro. He was dominating, man, and dude, that was against the first team.
The Cowboys, and you even said it. I think we were texting. You even said, like, Max Crosby like dipped on over to the other side. He wanted nothing to do with the kid.
I couldn't. It's so that's the other thing too. It was so hard to see who was who from up there, even though they were great beats. But at my age, I can't see. I'll have to put the glasses on to read the notes and the chart that I had. But I gotta put the readers on. Well, I got the
wow, you do? Yeah, that's right.
Card.
I was like, make sure you hold on to that, and then you have no excuse for the rest of the season.
For the names, man. I suck at the names.
I tell you what, man, Connor Beebe, I'm very impressed, and I'm my call. So Keith, when he's listening to this, pull your receipt, buddy. I said when they drafted Connor Beebe, he was going to start at center when this season starts, and I think he's earned it. He's already got the reps with the ones. There's NFL videos out there saying like he's snapping to his mother, which, by the way, shout out to the entire Beebe family that started following me on Twitter, which is awesome. I got brothers and fathers and all this shit, so that's awesome.
Follow me.
Yeah, follow Brett. He's way more popular.
No, dude, listen, Beebe. I mean, dude, both Guyton was just. He was going 100 miles an hour. So was Nealon. Nealon was playing. Awesome football there. We didn't get to the quarterback, but there was one play, I think, where he gave up containment a little. And I don't know if it was, I think it was Minshew rolled out, but he ended up throwing the ball. But if he ended up running, he could have got some. Other than that, Nealon probably played the best. It's out of Nealon and Guyton, really, that really stood out for our rookies. That's what I said is, put them right in, start them game one.
Trial by fire.
Because, just let them what is it? Not hell by fire, but just let them.
Trial by fire. Yeah, no, that's you have to figure out what you got, and the only way you get that is by bringing him on and figuring out if he can handle the spotlight, but B, the grown men strength that's about to come your way. Jesse Holly talks about that a lot. Like some of these guys are murking guys right now. Guyton and BB are throwing guys around, and they're rookies. Imagine what they're going to be able to do in year 3, right? And I will say this. For everybody out there that is just MFing the Joneses because of the way they handle their contracts and shit, bro.
They know alignment, bro.
The Joneses plus Will McClay, my goodness, they don't miss when it comes to offensive linemen. They really don't. And the proof is in the pudding. We got Hall of Famer and Tyron Smith, who had to walk out the door because of money, I guess you could say. But like he's over there with the Jets. He's about to be their best offensive lineman, right? So, and he's at the ripe old age. You know what I mean? So the Cowboys.
In our defense, we couldn't afford that, and he's not healthy every year. He's not playing full. He hasn't played full season.
We've said that. Yeah, we've said that plenty. Big tree fall
hard.
My
question is, because I think they nailed it with Tyler Smith, Guyton, BB, right? Zach Martin, and then what's the other kid on the other line? The other tackle.
Terrence Steele.
That's pretty solid. I mean, unless you want to move because Hoffman, they got Hoffman all over the place now, I guess. I guess he's playing tackle now and guard.
And he's playing angry. There wasn't a down that went by when he was on the field that he wasn't trying to pick a fight.
I know. He was amped up, but he's still obviously we're going to keep him, but he's still a good, solid offensive lineman. I'm just wondering if Tyler Smith and Guyton should be our tackles. And then maybe move a BB and a Zach Martin to the guard if we're going to keep Hoffman at center, or just flip-flop that.
I think there's like like if emergency break glass type deal where we could make a move like that if need be. But what I see right now out of the continuity that they're starting on this offensive line, especially with inserting BB and Guyton right away,
it's going to be Guyton and Steele.
Yeah, and I think that Steele, while 2 years ago he felt like a liability, last year he played real well. You know what I mean? Like he gets banged up too from time to time. But Terrence Steele, he might actually be the weakest link on this offensive line, believe it or not, which is crazy to say, considering the fact that he was one of the better ones 2 years or last year.
That's what I'm thinking. But all right.
So offensive line played well, and they continue to establish themselves, which is great.
It gives us a little bit of depth. Here's where I'm seeing our problems, and there's 3 things I want to discuss: tight ends, wide receivers, and running backs. Okay, now obviously I think we're going to keep 3 running backs, right, or 4.
Dude, and you know what? Somebody brought this up to me on Twitter when I actually posed that question. I said, "Oh, how many running backs can the Cowboys logistically actually keep? Like reality based? Like we can't just keep 7, right?" So it's like they're going to keep Zeke. They're going to keep Rico Dowdle. They're going to keep Malik Davis. Those are 3 guys right away that are on the team. So then you have to decide between Royce Freeman, Deuce Vaughn, Snoop Connor's not getting enough burn. He'll probably wind up on the practice squad. And I was like, okay, so who do you choose? And then all of a sudden people are like, hey, man, guess what? You're forgetting about Hunter Lipke. And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, because you look at him in more like a fullback role.
Well, I was listening to that Vach Lombardi kid. I like him a lot. And Brian Brodus. And Vach was like, would you think of just making what's his name? Lepke a tight end, like making him our 5th tight end.
I could see him in like a Chris Cooley.
Just listing him as a tight end because there's no requirements on really how many you need to keep per position, is there?
No, it's just 53 men on the roster.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
You could keep as many as you want for anything.
I think first off, this is how I broke it down. Okay. Royce and Zeke are basically solving the same problem. They're the same type of runner, right?
They are. And there's an argument circling that Royce might be a little bit better, which means like there's people out there calling for Zeke to be cut already. And I'm just like, I don't see it. Right. And that's a personal thing for me. Like, that's not like who's better? Let's keep the better back and tell the other one to go scratch. This is Ezekiel Elliott. There's a reunion here. You have him back with his boy Dak Prescott. Like that, there's no world that I think we live in that Zeke is a cap casualty or a roster casualty. I don't see it. Not at all.
I don't see it either. And that's what I'm saying is that, and Zeke also has the ability to break big plays. I mean, he had an amazing, even against the year before we traded him. I mean, he didn't play as well as he did the season before that one, but he still played great. And it wasn't like he was trash. And then he goes to the Patriots. I think he still had 1,000 yards, didn't he, with the Patriots?
No, but what I will say is that he showed some burst. I don't think Zeke had 1,000 yards last year. You can look that up while I'm about to go on a rant. But what I will say about Ezekiel Elliott is he's a team guy, and it's somebody that you just can't part ways with because I understand this is a business, right? And you have to keep the best players on the field. I'm well aware of that. But when you bring this guy back in here, Royce Freeman was already on the roster. Let's all remember that. Royce Freeman was already on this roster before they reunited with Zeke. So clearly they wanted Ezekiel Elliott back. And I watched a couple highlights from last year. There was times he was catching the ball out of the backfield, still hurdling over guys. Zeke still has it. Has there been a decline in his speed and his breakaway speed? Sure, there has been. He's going to be 30, right? Like, so after 30 running backs, we all seen it. It's just a steady decline. But what I will say is Zeke not being required to be your main bell cow is a very, very good thing for Ezekiel Elliott and his brand, because now you have Zeke and Rico and Malik and Deuce and, like the list goes on and on. So Zeke Elliott is not going to be required to touch the ball 25 times like he used to. He's going to probably get 15 touches, maybe less.
Here we go. Yeah. It's not even close. He had 642 yards at 184 attempts. So it was pretty limited, averaging 3.5 yards a carry. He only had 3 touchdowns.
But again, Brett, that offense was abysmal. The Patriots offense stunk. So it's like, and the offensive line and all the intangibles that people always talk about with these running backs, they stunk out loud. So it's like, now you're back with a good offensive line with a little bit of a fire lit under your ass. Zeke Elliott's going to be fine, man. I think he's been fine.
Yeah, look, well, my point was Zeke and Royce are the same. And Deuce, we don't have a player like this kid. And, I obviously for the sentimental reasons, we love him. The fact he's undersized, we love him. But we don't have the way he cut, the way he moves, he's so quick. And I think that I don't want to lose him more than anyone. So you figure, all right, let's say you have Zeke and Royce who are kind of the same, even though Royce, he's a load, bro. He's a load.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have anything like Deuce. And then we have Rico and Malik. Who do you think is going to get the nod from those two? I know on this game, it was I guess Rico is over Malik right now, right?
So the reason why I say it's Rico is I just look at the depth chart, and that's why, because I look at the first game when Rico wasn't even involved. So that to me tells me that he's safe, right? So it's like, if you need to see more out of Malik, then you run Malik. But this past game, you saw everybody. You literally saw everybody, right? So it's a competition for sure. Who? Malik?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been just like any other running back on this team. They've all been banged up, but like, yeah, we lost him for a little while last year. Rico was our main back, along with obviously Tony Pollard. But like, the Tony Pollard that we had a couple years back, he reminds me more of the Deuce Vaughn. Tony Pollard in space is a bad man, right? You give Deuce Vaughn one-on-one, you saw what he can do last week. He broke that guy's ankles. They're still on the field, like they're still on the field. So like, I'm looking at a Deuce Vaughn as a change of pace type guy. I'm looking at him as a punt returner / kick returner. I think I'm with you. I think that he would be, to lose Deuce Vaughn right now is not a good look. It's not a good move. Listen, sentimental. Yeah. With the whole draft day thing, dad on the thing. I get it. It's all great. But like, now it's business time. And I think it's best for business, not to steal a Triple H line, but it's best for business to keep a guy like Deuce Vaughn. You have to. You just have to. At this point.
I would hate to see that. like I said, he's such a good utility player, and I know they had Snoop out in the slot running out there, which is kind of probably what they're going to do with Deuce if they keep him.
I think
but
so
the
too.
running back situation, to me, I would personally put one on the development score. I would keep Deuce on the 53. All right, I would go Zeke and Deuce, right? Then how many and Lepke too, man? Because that Rico, that would be it, and then put Malik.
I think that's the safest 4, and then you put Malik Davis with the risk of somebody else picking him up. All it takes is one injury from an NFL team, and you're going to be scrambling looking at people's practice squads. So if Malik Davis is chilling on the practice squad, and you think he's got some burst and some boom, then we lose him. But like the safe ones, I would say right now is Zeke, Rico, Deuce, and Lipke, because again, Lipke's versatility of playing that H-back / fullback / tight ends, like whatever the hell you need him. He's another guy that probably could excel on special teams this year. You know what I mean? Like, and that's how you make a team when there's a little bit of a clusterfuck between like who you're going to take. You take the guy that could provide more value for you on your team. So like Deuce Vaughn, to keep him, it's because he's versatile, right? To keep Royce Freeman, you're looking at it like, okay, if he's not running the rock, is he going to be on your kickoff team? Is he going to be on, like, where's Royce Freeman going to fit? I don't think he fits. And I think he's on the outs, and I like him. He's provided a couple nice things for us in I guess in training camp, and a little burst here and there. But like, I don't see the big picture for a Royce Freeman. That's just me.
I mean, again, these are all good problems to have.
Right.
This and the next room for me, which I don't know why Schoonamaker is such a guarantee, but that John.
I don't think he is.
Oh, they got him he's second already. I think he's so right now, in my opinion, we go with in the tight end room. Well, I mean, all right. So we have
Ferguson.
Ferguson. I like this John Stevens kid, man.
And you want to talk about a load to bring down? My guy is big, and they do list. If you go to like an ESPN.com or something like that, you got Ferguson, they got Schoonmaker, they got Hendershot, and they got John Stevens Jr. all listed in 4. But again, there's other ways to kind of make these guys into stars, and I don't know. I don't know, man. I think it's Ferguson, because to me, my bold prediction, and I'll stick with it, top 3 or top 4 tight ends.
We both talked about this on the text. I agree. We got.
Yeah, I think Ferguson's going to be a problem. I do.
I love this John Stevens kid, man. And you know what? He put on some size, and he's a big dude, and he's a great target, and he was blocking pretty well. And then Schoonmaker, I don't know why. I like Hendershot, bro. I like Hendershot. He brings something to the table, man. I mean, the kid gets fired up. I mean, there was a stupid penalty. I mean, he gets a little.
I hit a little too much, but look, I'm with you. I'm with you as far as like the mentality and like that, the moxie. Hendershot is the guy. He's got a little swag to him. I like it. Schoonmaker, if I had to guess, I think you're allowed 2 IR spots to start the year, to be out the first 4 games, and he's the one that keeps getting banged up. There's a chance, for me at least, there's a chance that Schoonmaker winds up on the IR to start the year, just so you can hold on to him for 4 weeks, get him back into the swing of things, see if he's going to play a role. But if these other guys, and just as like the Wally Pipp effect, if you lose your spot because you're just not available, I think it was good old, you might have heard of him, a good, decent coach, Bill Belichick, right? He used to say, the best ability is availability, right? So like that is the case here. If you're always banged up and there's already a good room behind you, like the Fergusons of the world, and now John Stevens Jr. is coming on, you might just lose your job based off the fact that you couldn't stay on the field. And this is not a knock at your ability. It's just a knock at your ability to stay on the field. So I don't know. The tight end room is tricky to me right now, because you do have that John Stevens Jr. effect. I think there is going to be a play for him to stay on this roster.
Somebody would scoop him up. So, all right. So right now for the running back room, I would do Zeke, Rico, Lepke, Deuce. For the tight ends, I would just keep 3. And I would do Fergie, Stevens, and Hendershot. That would be my 3.
And that might be the case, like I think Doomsday is next Monday, if I'm not mistaken, what that means is there's only one cut day nowadays in the NFL. In today's NFL, there's only one cut day, and that's when they got to cut basically half their roster. Schoonmaker either winds up on the IR or maybe the problem is, and I say this all the time when it comes to higher draft picks. Remember, they took him in the 2nd round. So the issue with that is that's going to make the Jones feel like shit. We didn't get this one right. And
guess what? Last year's rookies, all of them were a bust, pretty much, except for Overshown, who got hurt, who we haven't really seen, and Deuce. Who's panned out of that draft class? Schoonamaker?
Well, no, Tyler Smith, obviously Tyler Smith. But
oh yeah,
I would.
Right. No, Tyler was here before that.
Was he? Because I'm like drawing a blank now. I'm like questioning myself. Hold on, now I got to check because I'm a lost cause. Because if I was wrong on that, then I'm a complete buffoon. Status, 2022 round 1. So that's 22, 23, 24. All right. So this is his actually 3rd year already, believe it or not.
Right.
So last year's draft class, just to give everybody a, let's see, draft class. What was it? 2023. So it's 2023 was.
Overshown.
Oh, well, the jury is still out on Mozzie Smith. He was our number 1 pick last year. Mozzie Smith was. Schoonmaker, again, a little underwhelming right now. Overshown, we didn't see enough of him yet. He got hurt. Fehoko, we don't know. Asim Richards is actually coming on a little bit. Eric Scott Jr., you've seen a little bit out of him in the cornerback room. And then there's Deuce Vaughn. But, you're right. Overall, very underwhelming considering injuries. And Mozzie Smith didn't really have himself that good of a year last year. But this year, times are changing. I think Mozzie Smith has a chance to be very good.
Nealon, Guyton, and BB alone, that's a strong class.
I think so too. And they're all going to be starters. They're all going to be starters, or at least Nealon will rotate, but they're all going to be there.
No, but I'm saying, and as I love Overshown, so I'm not canceling him out of last year, but the year before that, or whatever it was. That class, right? Because, like you said, the jury's still out, which I think he's going to be a stellar player. So, to me, the most underwhelming of the tight ends is Schoonamaker. And he got hurt again. I think he got hurt in the game again. He had to take himself out. And, look, here's the thing that sucks. I'm not one of those guys. I hate talking about this because these kids, it's their future. And, you don't want to sit there and just say, yeah, get rid of them, like the people do. I still hate some of these commentators, man. It's like, dude, you never played the game. You don't understand it. Like the way they talk, like Skip Bayless and those. It's like, dude, relax. I know you're doing it for views or whatever, but this is a kid's future. Yeah. And I hate saying it that way, but I don't see why we're holding on to him when you're getting production from Stevens like that and even the potential. And now the wide receiver room is even more of a conundrum.
It really is, dude. It really is, because obviously what you're seeing right now is, and the latest on CeeDee Lamb, just to touch on it because everybody else is touching on it, CeeDee Lamb apparently has been offered a contract, but the years are what the holdup is. But they're not far away. Schefter put it out today, and do I trust everything Schefter puts out? Probably not. But Schefter put it out today that it's unlikely that CeeDee Lamb would miss any time in the regular season, right? But you got to get him in the damn camp, okay? I'm sorry. I get CeeDee Lamb is great, and they gave him the 88, and he's living up to it. Last year, he had a phenomenal year. I got him 3rd overall in my fantasy draft because I'm a nerd. But, this is what I'm talking about. When it comes to CeeDee Lamb, you got to get him on the field. The years is what's holding it up, apparently, allegedly, right? Dallas wanted to – this is what Dallas does. They want a 5-6 year deal so they could spread it out, right? And load it up in the front or load it up in the back, however they want to do the salary cap gymnastics. But CD wants a 3 or a 4 year deal. And that's smart on his behalf because you don't know what the market's going to be like in 3 or 4 years. We're going to be in the same situation. You and I will be talking about this in the year 2028 when his contract's coming up again. And we're like, oh, shit, now what? Right. But now you're 4 more years in, blah, blah, blah. It starts with CeeDee Lamb. He'll get on the field. After CeeDee Lamb, obviously you've had Brandon Cooks, who missed last week's game, is dealing with some personal stuff. He's missed practice a couple days this week. Everything apparently going to be fine. But then you have the battle for the third spot, which I don't think it's a battle really. I think that's Jalen Tolbert's spot to lose.
Spot.
And honestly, if Cooks winds up being better in the slot, then you have Tolbert on the outside, which I'm totally cool with that as well. You just got to see where they fit. Now it's wide receiver 4, Brett, where it gets kind of dicey because now you're seeing some really good play out of Jalen Brooks. You're seeing a lot of good play out of some Flournoy stuff. He's been kind of, hit or miss. But when you look at this team, and obviously you got to factor in Kevontae Turpin with the kickoff return game and maybe him being
Turpin right now, what I would say the 4 guaranteed are Lamb, Cooks, Tolbert, and Turpin. I think those are all 4 guaranteed.
I agree with you.
The question is, do we carry 6? Which I think we will.
So if they carry 6, then you would assume that Jalen Brooks makes the roster and then maybe Flournoy, right?
Well, they were talking about what's his name? Billy Joe Tolliver.
Billy Joe Tolliver, yeah. So Tyron Billy Johnson, you might find some.
What was it? Johnson, White Shoes Johnson from Houston. Billy White Shoes Johnson.
Tyron Billy Johnson is his name, which is great. That'll be fun all year if he sticks around. There's another 3-name wonder, and that's Jalen Moreno Cropper, who put the ball on the turf last week. And I said, what'd I say? Like, done. It's like you can't screw up when you have a receiver room like that. You cannot put the ball on the turf. You can't. Like that's exactly how you lose your spot.
Well, those are the 3 Jalens, right? Which we're gonna, I'm gonna have a problem with that.
And then there's obviously a little Cam Johnson. There's McLovin
McMath. McMath.
McMath.
Look, Flournoy looked good against the Raiders, but it's not saying much. We got to see
because
how
by the time he was in, there's a lot of starters they were sitting. So.
Yeah.
Listen, again, you said it best before when it comes to the running backs. It's a good problem to have. If these guys are coming on, great. I mean, that's just better for us, right? But you got to make some decisions. And to carry 6 wide receivers with the amount of running backs they might carry and the amount of quarterbacks they might carry, all of a sudden you're looking at this offense. Yeah. All of a sudden you're looking at this offense. Yeah, I know. All of a sudden, you're looking at this offense, dude, and you're like, all right, so 3 carry 4 running backs. That's 7 carry. You're looking at 13 players before the tight ends of possibly carrying 16 players right there. So you're limited, man, because you need enough depth on the offensive line. So what I'm thinking is this. I think that we're going to come into next Monday when the cuts happen, and you're looking at this roster, and you're like, holy shit, I cannot believe they let that guy go. There's going to be one of those holy shit moments because these are hard decisions to make, man. And I think that the Cowboys are in a decent position right now to have a decent receiver room. And that's just calling it how I see it. But I don't know how hard these decisions are. Cause I mean, like, yeah, did we like what we saw out of Billy White Shoes, Billy Johnson, whatever, and McLovin and David Durden. And like, there's so many guys, but yeah, it's a cool story. Yeah, it's a cool thing to watch in August, but they're not suiting up. It's just, they're not. It's not, I don't think it's close. What you said, the 4 are good and solid. Yes, I agree with you. And then you could probably throw in your Flournoy and Jalen Brooks. That seems to be the move.
All right, but Sturchie, now here's where things get like a guy like Stevens could play wide out. Right? Because he was a receiver, wasn't he? And we converted him. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's his second year, but he's 6'5", 221, bro. So yeah, but I'm saying he played receiver, and we moved him to tight end. Look that up. I think he played.
Yeah,
receiver.
no, that's a thing. Yeah.
Then you get guys like Deuce that we could put in a slot as a receiver as well. And Lepke too, man, right? So we also have to look at positions on special teams. And those three I don't want to lose. And however we finagle that, Stevens, Lepke, and Deuce, I don't want to lose. I think they bring a lot to the table. And Hendershot as well. Hendershot's great on special teams, man. You know, and I don't.
And that might, and like I told you before, that might be the reason why you keep certain players over other players. Like if you can show us something on special teams, Bones Fossil will probably fight for you to stay on this roster.
But my point is when we're cutting now, right? We have to look at this and like Shoemaker. I hate to pick on him. I just don't understand why he's second. I haven't seen anything from him. He's been hurt.
I think he's second because, you know, we lost, like it was almost like second by default to me, you know,
right.
Like because we had Sean McEwen on the roster. We had Dalton Schultz was here a couple years ago, right? So all of a sudden Shoemaker is just there and now he's moved up because we're losing players. You know what I mean? So that's the only reason why I can foresee, and I know Schultz wasn't there last year, but that's why I see him. And again, John Stevens Jr. last year was hurt, right? So he's there for a reason, but now you're running out of reasons as to why he's still there. And again, we don't want to talk shit. We don't want to be like, hey man, this guy stinks. No, like he's good. He's just, his availability kind of blows right now. So,
yeah.
So,
but you know, and then we're looking at in the receivers, we need guys that do dual roles. Mm-hmm. You know, Turpin came on he was pretty clutch last year in a couple of games. And, you know, obviously he's a great returner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall us being in such a good situation, in a while with our rookies. And,
I agree.
Which is it's a great thing.
Yeah. No, I agree wholeheartedly when it comes to the wide receivers. Now, flipping on over to the other side of the ball, we got some flowers to give out for this past week. There's definitely some guys that we watched fly around that ball last week. And to me, it starts with Wanye Thomas.
I brought him up. That kid was balling, man.
Yeah. And the reason why you look at a guy like that as somebody that could really, like, is he going to be, you know, safety one on the depth chart? Probably not. But what I will say about Thomas is that every time there's a tackle, he's there. Whether he's making the tackle or not, he's in your frame. He's in your TV. He's on your phone. Wanye Thomas, every time that there was a stop, he was involved in some capacity, whether it was getting picked up on a block to free up somebody else, or he was actually making the stop itself, batting the ball out of the air, whatever the case may be. Wanye Thomas has 1,000% earned his spot and earned his share of reps on this Dallas defense. And I think that even guys like Mike Zimmer are starting to see it too, of the value when you can do multiple things, meaning special teams, clearly, defensive safety, clearly, but then you bring him up in the box, dude, and he can make noise, bro.
Yeah,
there was times where I'm like, dude, this dude is legit.
He's definitely making it. He's definitely.
Oh yeah, no, there's no question in my mind, no question.
I mean, we also have that rookie cornerback. Caleb? What's his name?
Kalen Carson missed the last week's game, but he'll be back this week to play. But yeah, he's going to be right behind De'Lon Bland, obviously.
I got to put the glasses on.
Yeah, Kalen Carson is somebody that we got to keep our eyes on. Clearly, like Trayvon Diggs is good. Tell you what, the craziest stat, I don't know if you saw this, but the craziest stat that comes out of the defense this past week is the guy that we traded Nashawn Wright for, Andrew Booth Jr. He had more tackles in this game, in this preseason game, than he did all last season as a player for the Minnesota Vikings. So it's like, you're looking at that guy, and I said it on Twitter, and I think it's a very, very lost art, and you can attest to this. Your brother can attest to this. Open field tackling is so big in this league because once you miss one tackle, the sky can fall, right? The sky can fall for a defense if you miss an open field tackle. These guys are wrapping up. They're not looking for the big hit stick. And while they still can lay the wood, they're wrapping up. They're making key clutch tackles in big, big spots where there be, even when these guys run these wide receiver screens and shit, guess what? We weren't far removed from the days of us missing one tackle and them taking it for fucking 15 yards, right?
No,
What we
I
saw
agree.
Booth do the other night was wonderful in that regard.
I think if on our team right now, our bright spot is our secondary. I mean, we have a lot of depth.
Yes.
And our safeties we're good. We are really good. We're in a good position. The question is
Hooker, it's Wilson, it's Marquise Bell, and it's Wanye Thomas. And those guys are locked. And we're not even talking about guys like Izzy Mukamaru. Like, he's going to be there. Like, so there's a lot of guys on this defense, man. There's a lot to be excited about.
So we got, I love the kid, Kalen Carson. Again, we have a great rookie class, man. Obviously, Deron Bland, Diggs, Butler, Josh Butler is pretty solid.
He's played okay.
Yeah, I'm saying, though, he's a good corner. But, I have that note. You brought up Booth. You just brought him up. I'm looking at my notes. I was writing like I'm a coach.
You're in the press box. People are texting like, not now. I'm logging film.
Yeah, dude, that's what I was, man. You know, we were in the suite, and a lot of people socialized during the game, which I understand.
I can't.
But I was just fixated, and people getting up, walking around, talking, wanting to take pictures, stuff like that. And I'm like, just move. I'm trying.
It's one thing to be like, honestly, I don't know what's worse, like you at a preseason game and like being locked onto a preseason game, or me on the East Coast staying up till 1:30 in the morning until this thing was over. I didn't miss a fucking down, like not one. I was like, what's wrong with me? I'm gonna suffer on Sunday for this shit. But yeah, dude, the defense, like you said, it's great. The secondary is great. We're also seeing the emergence of what I call the tribal chief of the defense, and that's Maurice Eliafu. He's coming on strong. It's wonderful to see Eric Kendricks on how fast he can get adjusted to this defensive scheme, working with Zim. And just, I don't know, man. Again, you don't want to get too crazy. It's August 20th as we record this. It's like, you don't want to get too nuts with what we see on the team. But as Brett famously says lately, pretty much once a podcast, on paper, these guys look pretty goddamn good right now.
I wanted to make a point, though. Because, all right, we still have problems in Justin Rogers played pretty good. The interior defensive lineman, that is still a concern to me a little.
Well, now remember, after, we made moves that did not apply for this game in itself. So Phillips was brought in to clog the middle. Him and Mozzie are going to be a force now. Now they're going to be able to rotate a little bit. Mozzie will have some fresher legs. Phillips, literally, some of the quotes that are coming out of this guy is great. He's not a stat guy. He's not like, I got to get mines. He is like, I need to take on blockers so my linebackers can have a hole to go lay the wood, right? And like, that's the kind of shit that you want. That's the mentality that you want on this defense, is that people are trying to do their jobs respectively, but also create other opportunities and other jobs. So bringing him in along with Carl Lawson, who are both on the practice field this week, they're probably both going to get some serious time on Saturday against the Chargers. So I don't know if interior defensive line might not be as much of a bugaboo as it was once upon a time, because you bring in a guy like Phillips.
I'm bugaboo, by the way. All right, so we have obviously we have 007 at the 3 tech. We got Huggins and Daxon, right? Which obviously one of those, because I don't know how great Huggins played. Then you have on the other side, we have in the defensive end, we got Golston, Newland as an edge. Micah, they have him listed as a linebacker, but he's an edge. And again, I hate saying this, but the kid Fehoko didn't really play up to par. I think he's probably the weakest link.
Yeah, we're not seeing. I don't think we're seeing enough out of him for like justification as to why he should be on the roster, is what you're saying.
And at the technique, obviously, Mozzie is starting to show some promise, and then we have Phillips, and then Justin Rogers. So, who would you get rid of? How many are we going to keep? We're going to need depth.
Depth is definitely a thing, but now that you bring in a Jordan Phillips for the 1 tech, Mozzie and Jordan will be fine. You want to keep a Justin Rogers for depth? Fine, but I don't know how much reps he would get in a normal game. And then you look at the edge rushers. Yeah, you got D-Law. People are sleeping on D-Law again. It drives me nuts. Huh?
I forgot about D-Law. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, like he's a freaking Pro Bowler. How many times over? Like he's still D-Law.
Yeah, but I'm talking about who we're gonna keep. The ones that are not.
So to me on the defensive line, you're keeping 8 right off the rip. That's Lawrence, Smith, 007, Micah. You can count them there. And then on the backside of their depth is Nealon, Phillips, Golston, and Carl Lawson. Right, the guys that are on the you better bust your ass this week thing is probably Fehoko. It's probably
Huggins?
Justin Rogers.
What about Huggins?
I'm not worried. Like Darrell Johnson is out. Huggins is gone. Those guys are gone. Like, and it's not again, not a knock, but they're gone. They're just gone.
Jackson?
No, not enough. There's not enough. There's just not enough there. He's not putting enough on tape for somebody to do a breakdown. Like Lombardi's not going to go out there and be like, let me tell you something about this Daxon kid. Right? There's not enough for him to warrant a starting spot at all. Not even a starting spot, even a rotational spot. So he's probably on the outs as well. And again, there's a 15 roster practice squad or whatever. So I'm sure a lot of these guys will find themselves on the developmental practice squad. So, who's on the team that I completely forgot about? Damian Wilson. He was out there playing at the end of that game. And I'm like, man, I completely forgot we brought back Wilson on this linebacker core. And again, another maybe diamond in the rough type find is freaking Will Harvey Jr. It's like,
all right, now wait, let me get to this, okay? Because that's a good segue to the linebacking core, because that's really where we do have some difficult choices to make, right? Mm-hmm. I love Harvey. Now, granted, he dropped a pick 6. I mean, he got into coverage pretty well. And that's what I loved about him, too, is I was watching him in coverage, man. And, he was getting under the curl. He was where he needed to be. Again, couple of runs that they made that they shouldn't have gotten. I know Keith broke it down with, I suck. Liufa?
Sure.
However, Lufa. We'll call him Lufa. But what I liked was how, which you haven't really seen, how Lufa just, boom, the line, take on the block. Granted, on that one play, he broke down. He took it with the wrong shoulder. But that room, because now we got Micah there. Micah's listed as a linebacker, not as an edge rusher. We got Overshown, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Kendricks is guaranteed. Obviously, Lufa is. Damone Clark.
Mm-hmm.
You brought up Damian Wilson.
Guys like Jason Johnson, Buddy Johnson, Nick Vigil, those guys.
I was going to say Buddy Johnson. He showed some promise.
And then you got the great white hype and Brock Mogensen. You know what I mean? Like, again, cool story, great hair, you know what I mean? But like, not going to make the team. It's just not, there's not enough ball for these guys to play is what I'm saying. So it's not like it's not like, oh, these guys stink. Like it ain't like that. And I'm not saying it is, but I will say that it's going to be very hard for these guys to make a football team when you can only keep 53 and we're keeping like 54 wide receivers. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's very hard for these guys to see the field is what I'm saying.
So, and then Willie Harvey, I think, wait, was it Harvey? Yeah, it was Harvey. All right. So here's who I'm keeping. Obviously Overshown, obviously Micah.
Mm-hmm.
Kendricks, Clark, Lufa, Damian Wilson, and maybe Buddy Johnson, man.
And you know what's crazy? I don't even think Damian, as much as I was excited to see him on the field because I forgot all about him, he's not a lock to make the team. He's really not.
How many linebackers should we keep? We're going to have to keep 6.
6, yeah. I guess 6 maybe. You know, and you said it right there. If it's weird because Parsons is like that unicorn hybrid type guy, but like Clark, Kendricks, Liufau, Harvey, Overshown is already 5. So if you consider Micah a linebacker, there's your sixth. If you don't, then I guess you have a room for a Damian Wilson, but that's really it. Like, I don't know. It's another good problem to have.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, man. I mean, maybe we keep 7.
Again, if they have a dual role, like meaning some special teams shit, then yeah, then you could justify that.
Well, you know what though, we do have those safeties that can move in the box. I mean,
exactly, exactly. Like, so last year when we were like, no, Marquise Bell is not a goddamn linebacker, but there was some flashes of times where he could get up in the box and lay the wood. And guys like, again, you have to keep your eyes on Donovan Wilson. How many times does he come up and play a little, off the ball linebacker? That shit can happen again. You know what I mean? And again, these guys are good. I think the Dallas Cowboys defense right now is constructed right now is better than they were last year on paper. Right
on
away.
paper. And
on paper,
again,
100%. Will they perform? That's a whole nother ballgame. But like,
I think our not our wild card, but to have Micah and Overshown on the field at the same time is going to be fucking great, man.
And they fly.
We have a solid. Listen, I am really excited about this team. I really am.
I know. And it's August. You sound like the little Sturch, right? Like,
I'm not a little Sturch, man. I'm not a little
right, because you're the one that will call out the bullshit before I do. You know what I mean? Like, but I will say going into this year, they have a more equipped and balanced team than they had last year going in. And remember, the Dallas Cowboys won 12 games 3 years in a row. You look at the schedule this year, and we'll go over it, in 2 weeks before the season starts, but it favors them to win a bunch of games again. It's just a matter of what they're going to do in January, right? Like, it's always the same song and dance. Like, how are they going to break your heart this year? But when you look at the NFC landscape, if you don't finish in the top 7, then there's something completely fucking wrong. You lost something. You lost your quarterback. You lost something. Like, you lost your two right tackle and a left tackle. Something had to go catastrophically wrong for the Cowboys not to be in the playoffs this coming January, right? Mm-hmm. So, and you know what? We haven't talked about the biggest, brightest moment of the entire night.
Let me make that's another great segue. Our minds are up. That, to me, is the best pickup we've had in like 30 years. And it went from we couldn't make an extra point with Marr to Aubrey Maddock, bro. I mean, that was and the CompuStats said that could have been 72 yards.
Yeah.
That kid he's money.
Listen, I don't want to put the hex on it. I don't want to put the Maloiki. I don't want to do any of that shit.
Don't give him the Maloik. We don't want the Maloik.
I don't want to do any of that. But what I will say is, man, you're not like, I know that sounds ridiculous when somebody's like, the best acquisition we had in the last 5 years offensively is a kicker. But guess what? Like, now, and the reason why I say this is a big, big thing for the Dallas offense is because if you got a touchback now, you're coming out to the 35. That's the new rule. If there's a touchback, you're on the 35 already. So therefore, you got to go about 20 yards of offense in order to be eligible to kick a field goal. That's huge. That is so big. I can't underestimate how big that is when you have a kicker who can kick from the star, right? Every time and make it look fucking easy, which is crazy to me. So do I think that like he's going to go 25 for 25 and be the fucking all-star and then miss one in the conference championship game? That's the MO of Dallas Cowboys.
Don't say that.
I'm just saying, bro. I'm not trying to put it in the universe. I'm just saying this is the MO of this fucking team. So it is what it is.
Look, man, when you break it down, there hasn't been. I think we talked about this. There's only 4 quarterbacks since Brady retired in the NFL that have ever won a Super Bowl that are playing right now. And that's Mahomes, Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson. I think that's it in the past 20 years.
And right now, probably the one that's like the most likely candidates to get back is a Mahomes. I don't know about Stafford anymore. I don't know about a guy like Aaron Rodgers. If he's going to hold up, great. If he holds up, the Jets are going to be something to talk about. Trust that.
Here was my point, though. The teams that, again, we've been disappointed a lot of years in postseason. It's that second year in this system which I would love to see him against the Chargers, just to see him play. And then it would,
unfortunately,
we're not going to see that. But Cleveland is going to be a huge test for game one. If we can get by that, if we can get that victory, I mean, that's an upside thing. Even if we lose, it's a great test for our defense. I think that those teams are evenly matched, right?
Yeah. And I think your brother brought up a good point on the text that the Browns might be without Nick Chubb. We don't know his status. He might start on the pup. I don't know, but that would be a massive gain for the Cowboys not to deal with Nick Chubb. I know they got Jerome Ford and they have Cooper, Deshaun Watson. Let's not forget about the fact that he was a very elite quarterback a couple of years ago. Right. So like they have a great team over there, and I think they're young and they're hungry, and they got guys like Myles Garrett, who always wins fucking defensive player of the year. So, and that's going to be a test for Guyton right out the gate, bro. If he's the starting left tackle and Myles Garrett's staring across from you, that will be the sign to say we got ourselves a fucking Hall of Famer if he can handle Myles Garrett. Honestly.
But Guyton's got that dog in him, man.
I think so too. I've watched his tape, his individual tape. He's a bruiser. He will throw you around. He's that kind of guy. He reminds me of like Michael Orr from The Blind Side. He'll just take you for a ride for like 40 yards and throw you into the crowd.
Stop. He doesn't stop.
No. And that's a beautiful thing. That's a high motor. And these are the things that you look for, man. And we said it earlier in the show that the Dallas Cowboys and the offensive linemen, they go together like peanut butter and jelly, man. They really do. Like, and it's just it's not a debate. It's not up for debate. But anyway, look, one more preseason game to evaluate all the players that were on the chopping block or potentially on a fringe roster spot. We're going to find out a lot this week. And of course, next week when we join the program, we're going to have the Dallas Cowboys roster full and ready to go. So it'll be very interesting to see who they keep around on this team this year.
There's some tough decisions to make, especially in the linebacker room, the receiver room, and the tight end room.
And the running back room and the quarterback room. You don't even know what you're going to do with this guy. So
we got to keep him as a third. We're going to keep him as a third. We're going to keep.
Yeah, you're not going to subject Trey Lance to the practice squad. You're just not going to do it. So
that's not going to happen.
No, it's not. So we'll see.
And again, bright spots. Aubrey Maddock. But we didn't get any sacks. We didn't get to the quarterback at all.
I think we will. I think we're going to generate some pressure. I think that the defensive line is going to be just fine.
We had a pick 6, which was great. Could have been 2. We had 4 picks last week, the week prior to the Raider game when we played.
Let's keep taking the ball away, man. Just keep taking the ball away and getting the offense back on the field and getting the offense in a good position to score points. And guess what? Again, if you get to the halfway stripe, you're probably going to wind up with some points. You know what I mean? So that's a crazy thing to think about, but that's the reality we're living in as Cowboys fans, at least. So we'll see. Buckle up. Last game of the preseason coming up this Saturday. We'll cover it next week on the Jersey Boyz podcast. Hopefully we get the Grinch back and see what his thoughts are about the last
Grinch
game.
The Grinch. Yeah, isn't this nice? There's no yelling and arguing. And
oh God. Can I quote him on it? Should I quote him? Or this is like, I'll just leave it.
No,
the Grinch will be back next week with all his thoughts about the brand new shiny contract that CeeDee Lamb probably gets. So we'll see. With that being said, this has been another what?
Do you think CeeDee agrees to the terms?
I think a deal gets done before the end of this week. How about that? So we're already on Tuesday. I don't think we make it to Saturday's game without a deal. That's my gut. So we'll see. With that being said, this has been another episode of the Jersey Boyz podcast. We'll be back next week to break it all down and look into the 2024 Dallas Cowboys. For Dave Sturchio and Bret Ernst, and of course, the Grinch, Keith Ernst, from the sidelines. We'll see you guys next week.
Hey, this is Tony Soprano, and you're listening to Jersey Boyz Podcast with your hosts, Dave Sturchio and the Ernst Boys. I mean, I could give a shit about the Cowboys. We're in New Jersey. These guys got balls being Cowboys fans in Jersey. Anyways, enjoy. Or whatever.
How about them Cowboys?